And my competitive nature is very much we win. We really enjoy winning. We do whatever it takes to win. And so I make sure everyone understands that base concept. I give them the rules, teach them how to win, and then I hire competitors.
This is From Paint to Purpose, a podcast by FCP Services, where we believe people drive growth, exploring topics related to company culture, leadership, and construction industry insights. Now your host.
Welcome everybody. Today we have guest Zach Tanner from Painter Bros. Hi Zach, how are you?
Good, doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. I pretty much work nonstop. I've only done this since I was about 18. Got a wife, one kid, and enjoy the outdoors.
Nice. What kind of outdoor stuff do you like doing?
I do a lot of fishing and a lot of hunting.
Is that why you chose Painter Bros? Because it has to do with outdoor stuff, or it's separate?
No, that's a pretty hot topic. People ask why the name. So it actually just comes down to search engine optimization and me being completely broke when I started the company. Having the word painter in your domain accelerates your ranking. And I only had about $400 to my name when I started the company. So I needed a $10 domain. And I searched for the most appealing one that I felt was, something that customers would feel is very approachable and, kind of develops a bit more of our culture just in the name. So, yeah.
So when did you start Painter Bros?
That would have been, I was 20 years old, so almost 8 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are some things that made you go, hey, I want to start my own company? Besides, I know you had said being broke.
Yeah, no, I was broke on purpose. I know it sounds weird. But no, so it was between going to college or starting to work, and I was going to go to college and play football, and then I got injured and decided, hey, I'm going to take my chances, bet on myself in business. And so I actually started working construction right away. And when I was, 17, still in high school, after I realized I wasn't going to play football. So started working pretty hard and started working with some people and learned how to painted for a few years. And I have a very competitive nature. And so I saw immediately an opportunity for doing things better than they're currently being done and providing better service. And so I seized the opportunity and ran with it. And it worked out well.
What are some of the steps that you took to prepare to start your own company?
Now you're making me really think back. That's feels like 2 lifetimes ago. I guess steps to prepare was I had to figure out what my value equation was going to be, why I was going to have a unique business or something that customers were going to see value in, as well as employees were going to be able to look at what we're doing and say, yeah, I want to be a part of that. So identifying those key things was pretty big.
Nice. What are some areas and when you first started the company where you succeeded, and then what are some where you failed?
Oh, well, you fail 100 times before you find one way to succeed. So there's a lot more failure than there is success, which is why I think a lot of people don't make it. But I've always had a pretty serious work ethic. Some people might say it's over the top or too much, or my wife might say I'm a workaholic, or at least I was. But dedication, I think you have to be willing to do whatever it takes, whenever it's needed, whether it's on a weekend or an evening or whatever. I know the first 2 years in business, I don't think I took a day off. It was Monday through Sunday, 8 days a week, nonstop, 30-hour days kind of thing. But that got me through just about everything else, because where you miss on some ends, where you're missing on management or coaching people or creating spreadsheets or pro formas, you put in the extra time to make up for it. And so as long as you're willing to put in that extra time, it'll typically offset your shortcomings, especially if you have no money.
I know a lot of people say work balance is important and stuff, but in the beginning, obviously, you have to, put in the work. Have you
Yeah.
been able to find that balance?
Yes. Yeah. So my wife and I, we had our first kid about 3 years ago. And that was kind of the wake up call to me where it was like, okay, what are you really working for? Figure it out, Zach. And so I looked at it and said, okay, let's restructure how we're doing things. And it was interesting at that point. It was actually a very different perspective where the company was more, instead of built around, I'm going to do as much as I can. It was, I'm going to set people up to do as much as they can and put everyone else in a winning position to grow. And so that was a pretty pivotal time.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it was me realizing I was doing too much, that I was the company versus the company's about your people. Your people are kind of everything, right? And so it was more putting people in winning positions and not telling them what to do, but showing them how to do it. I think was key. And sticking with people is huge. I know there's a lot of turnover in employment as it is, but I try and stick it out with people. I typically will let them quit before I quit on them. So even if they're struggling, you don't fire someone because they're struggling. You give them every opportunity, everything they could ask for, and you leave it up to them. Because most of the time when people see it through, that's when you see the biggest change. And that's when you see them actually take that next step and take charge.
Do you weave that into your company culture?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're not a cutthroat, one and done, one opportunity and you're out kind of company. We understand people are human, and no one starts running 100 miles an hour right out of the gates. Everyone starts somewhere, and we've all started at that base level position and worked our way up. And so we really understand that process, that growth cycle from start to finish. And I think that's helped a lot.
What does growth look like to you?
Well, you could talk about a CAGR, your compound annual growth rate, or you could talk about people. I think they're two separate. One's numerical and one's more, I guess, the culture of your business. And so CAGR wise, we're doing fairly well. But I think the most impressive growth or the most satisfying growth is that of our people. Watching our people grow from whether it's painters that have worked for me for 5 or 6 years and the guys that are now running their own franchise, mostly autonomously, which is really exciting. I think I get much more joy out of that than seeing a number on the percentage of growth monetarily. So I really enjoy that.
How do you get your team to carry the vision of you have for your company?
It becomes their vision. I don't micromanage people at all. As people grow into management positions, it's somewhat of a game in a way where you have to play by the rules if you want to win. And my competitive nature is very much we win. We really enjoy winning. We do whatever it takes to win. And so I make sure everyone understands that base concept. I give them the rules, teach them how to win, and then I hire competitors, people that really, really want to win, and they essentially create their own vision of what winning looks like, and they run with it. And I don't do a whole lot of looking over people's shoulders. Right out of the gates, you have to help a little bit, but I really like it when people can grow their own win or their own game or however they're playing it and not be successful with it.
How did you end up working with FCP Services?
Ooh. There's a guy, you might know him. His name's Ronnie Martin. Yeah. Mr. Ronnie. Gosh, this had to have been 5 years ago, 5 years ago or so. Ronnie calls me up one day and had this guy with this super thick accent, Southern accent. And I thought to myself, what the hell am I getting myself into? I don't know if I can trust this guy. Because, you get some calls from random companies from time to time that are asking you to do stuff, and then they just stiff you on pay or whatever. And my company was more in the infancy stage back then. So we were, a little bit more fragile. And so taking chances and hoping to get paid was a much bigger of a deal. And so somehow his Southern charm talked me into doing the first Walmart for him. And yeah, that was it. Mr. Ronnie.
Can you tell me that story about giving you that Walmart?
I don't even remember exactly what it was. I just know I gave him a really hard time about making sure he was legitimate and making sure he was going to do his end of it. I think I even bugged him about getting me a down payment. And I told him, I'm not going to touch anything unless you give me some money down, just because I don't trust it. And anyways, long story short, Ronnie did, I'm a tough person to convince. I'm a tough salesman. You know the whole saying, you can't BS a BSer. And so I thought, okay, I think I can work with this guy, because he did everything he said he was going to do. And then we reciprocated that and kind of went from there.
What values do you look for when choosing a company to work with?
If they do what they say they're going to do. I think it's the biggest one, which really brings you down to the character and the culture of that company. And it really trickles down from the top, right? So if all your employees, they do what they say they're going to do, regardless of financial bearing or whatever, it means that they have character. They have pride in what they do. And even if it's not written down on a piece of paper, if it was just said over the phone, because that's how we do business. That's what we like to do. That's the best way to do it.
What are some good relationship advice that you can give between two companies?
Relationship advice. It's kind of like a marriage. In a way. I mean, you're not always going to get along. You're not always going to win on every single job, right? And the idea is to provide something for the end user or the customer, and to work together to do so. You hope you make money doing it at the end of the day as a business owner. But at the end of the day, you know that you're not always going to make money, but you always need to provide that end result to the customer that they're expecting. So work it out. That's the best thing to say. You agree to work it out.
What are some steps you take to make sure your customers are happy with your work?
Oh man. We do pretty much anything. I mean, if our customers if we get any idea that they're unhappy or uncertain about quality or anything, we kind of have a pretty serious protocol where we drop what we're doing. We go take care of whatever needs to get taken care of. And it's essentially, we've got quite a few project managers. So whoever's in charge of the job will drop what they're doing. If they need to jump on a plane, they jump on a plane same day. I know I've done it like once or twice too, just because I thought to myself, I should probably go get this taken care of. Yeah.
But I'm assuming that because you trust your teams and you set them up for wins, you don't have to do it very often.
No, few and far between. That's why we have the ability to drop what we're doing and go take care of it if and when they do happen.
Right. And is that because of the culture you started?
I think it's the relationship that we have with our employees. It really stems from setting an expectation, a very clear, defined expectation from the start of how business is to be conducted, how the job site's supposed to be handled. As long as we do that, and we train our guys extremely well on how to do that. And most of our guys that manage projects have painted for years or have done construction, hands-on manual labor construction. So they've been the guy that they're now in charge of, which I think is critical. Because they know exactly what is going on site. They get it. They understand the bigger picture. And so they have the ability to relay that expectation properly. It's not theoretical, it's actual, and so that's a big deal for us.
From your point of view, what are some struggles that have come up in the past year that you didn't imagine would happen?
Are you talking about COVID-19? Yeah, I didn't get to go to Alaska fishing last year, so that sucked. No, yeah, it was just weird. It was so weird because our business, it suffered, but not in the way that you would think a business would suffer. We suffered in the sense where we couldn't hire anyone. No one wanted to work. We had more work than we'd ever had because you had a massive influx of cash into the economy, and people were spending it left and right. And we just could not find people to work because of all the additional money that was being given for unemployment, and they had the bonus check thing they were doing. So that was our biggest struggle, was just finding people. So I was out in the field. Most of our project managers were actually hands-on painting or doing work last year in the field, just because we were so short staffed. And our higher up guys are kind of the highest producers because we know the most about what's going on. So it somewhat worked, but yeah, I went to Houston for about a month to work with them, to Phoenix for about 3 months, Portland for about a month. Just because no one wanted to work. It was weird.
Has there been any new recruiting techniques that you've come up with that you're like, hey, that's actually worked and didn't think about before?
It's a good question. We've taken a little bit of a different approach where we've taken some of our subcontractors and converted them from being independent to being a part of our organization, which is a pretty big deal. We incentivize them through being a part of our franchise organization, which offers a myriad of different benefits to them. And so that's helped a lot. But still just hiring people as painters, at least where we are, has proven to be somewhat difficult still, just because I think that unemployment's still going on in most places.
Right.
So.
What advice can you give someone that wants to start their own company in our industry, given all the struggles that we're having right now?
Oh, man. That's a great question. Mathematically, I don't know. I've looked back on it so many times because I have other people ask me that too. And mathematically, starting your own business doesn't ever make sense. But now when you're a business owner, you actually know what's going on and you kind of have a higher perspective. You're looking at it from 30,000 feet up. Makes no sense to do it. And so you have to just be as ambitious as can be and somewhat blind to what could happen. And you just go for it. Don't think there's always a million things that could go wrong. Don't think about them. Just think about what can go right and what you can control that's going to go right, and keep your head down and just work. That's probably the best advice.
Do you have any stories of where you thought it was going to go wrong and then it surprised you and it completely changed and you're like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to work?
Yeah, just about every day. Because you're juggling like 50 balls in the air at all times. And one of those balls you think's about to hit the floor and then it just shoots right back up. Oh, that's nice. Okay. So, and most of those are ideas, theoretical concepts that you're hoping to bring to fruition. But yeah, I think, trying to think the biggest one. I don't know if I have a specific example for you. I apologize.
No worries. How do you stay informed of new industry trends?
We're connected to a lot of different businesses, individuals, all across the country, essentially. Whether it's painting, construction, whatever, we're pretty connected in a lot of ways. And so we just communicate. I go out to dinner with people or just call them to talk to them and discuss what's going on, what they're seeing. With our franchisees being spread across the country, they're able to have insight into local markets where they are. And then through our KPI metrics on our CRM, we're able to monitor the economics of different areas, different times a year, and be able to understand kind of what's going on throughout the country at any given day, which is pretty big. So we know how to effectively invest money and have a reasonable ROI associated with it. But
How can our audience reach you?
we have an 800 number on our website, painterbros.com. If they, all the calls are screened, but if they ask for me with, enough purpose, I'll typically take the call.
Do you also have a LinkedIn page?
I do have a LinkedIn page, actually. Yeah, I have one for Painter Bros Franchising, which is our parent company, and then you can go through there, or my personal one.
Okay, I'll make sure to find you and then tag you on the LinkedIn page.
Very cool. Very cool.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about that we didn't discuss?
No, not really. I mean, what about you? Do I have to ask you questions at all, or is this just that you?
You can. I don't know if I have the answers.
No, how many podcasts do you do?
We have a total of 25 so far. I've done the last, I want to say 10 or 9. John was initially doing them, but he's super busy. So he had me guest host one of them, and I really liked it. I definitely was out of my comfort zone, and I had never done anything similar, but it was fun. And I said, let's try it. Like you say, jump in with both feet. And here I am.
Good. You found your calling, you feel like?
I think so. I'm still working on some of the interview questions and everything, but it's fun. It's been fun.
That's good. Yeah, this is very fluid. That's, I feel like, the most important part. I was a little concerned when I saw the itinerary.
Yeah.
It was going to be like first this, then that, but this was good. It was very discussion based. I liked it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Well, Zach, thank you for being a guest from our Paint to Purpose podcast. This is your host, Yahaira Vargas.
Thanks for listening. To learn more, visit fcpservices.com. Until next time, remember, people drive growth.